A black swan event is brewing in the stock market. Futures and options volumes rise, implying that a day ruled by volatility is to follow. However, what happens is one of the worst market wipeouts that the technology sector has ever seen. By the end of the day, the SOX Semiconductor Index falls 10%, but this doesn't tell the whole story. Across the markets, nuclear energy stocks drop more than 20%, the Nasdaq loses 3.6%, and Nvidia suffers the worst single-day market capitalization loss in history. The reason for all of this was confounding. Fears about a Chinese artificial intelligence language model being US tech had spread through the market. The thing was, this wasn't anything new. The Deepseek AI model had been out for months, and multiple sources had claimed that the technology is better than what ChatGPT had offered for months beforehand. Even the timing of the release of Deepseek's new R1 model didn't coincide with the timing of the crash. However, this isn't about that. It's about the lies, fraud, and propaganda of an unknown Chinese hedge fund that sought to destroy the US economy in their home turf. At first blush, Deepseek AI is nothing special compared to peers in the industry. It gives similar answers, gets the same questions wrong, and uses the same basic form as any other AI model. The only main difference on a very shallow level is the censorship. A level of censorship is necessary on all AI language models. It's necessary to make sure people aren't being told how to make nuclear weapons and SQL injections. However, what Deepseek pushes is an agenda. It doesn't answer questions about Winnie the Pooh, Taiwan, or 1989, a clear nod to its Chinese origins. When it does answer a question about major issues surrounding China, it makes sure to add an extra layer to its responses that defends the regime. This is no surprise. The company that controls Deepseek is a train wreck of a Chinese hedge fund with a long history of fraud and corrupt practices. Deepseek began as a qualitative analysis fund, or a quant firm, which used AI algorithms in order to attempt to define and trade the best stocks. The industry is easy to enter and oversaturated. There are more than 30 such hedge funds in China alone, not to mention all the other firms globally, all competing in the same space. Notably, this hedge fund, High Flyer's algorithm, was nothing special. It has gone up and down, outperformed and underperformed the market, and had its fair share of embarrassment. In 2021, the company offered a formal apology on WeChat for incurring major losses, and ever since February of 2024, the firm has underperformed the general market. However, this isn't about that hedge fund either. It's about the high-flying AI company that came from the so-called passion project of Chinese billionaire Liang Wenfeng. Deepseek's narrative is simple. They claim they are cheap, efficient, and use bummy AI chips to create a unique AI model that is better than the competition. Deepseek's path to this achievement is loosely documented through their website and a variety of research papers that highlight an ambitious yet inexperienced company. While most people are freaking out about how Deepseek manages to use less energy and be more efficient, they actually published an article on it in August of 2024. In this article, Deepseek discusses a few key components of how they create a more efficient model. First, they discuss a custom communication library allowing computations and data communication to happen sequentially. This is accomplished by something called asynchronous reduce on the CPU, meaning that the CPU can take on combining data across multiple nodes and move on before getting a result. This task is usually sent to the GPU, so having the CPU take control improves efficiency by freeing up space. In return, PCIe bandwidth, or the amount of data transferred from the GPU to the motherboard, is reduced. This results in less switching activity, decreasing the power. This also allows Deepseek to circumvent the problem of outdated GPUs, as they free up space by circumventing certain functions to less restricted and more readily available CPUs. Secondly, Deepseek uses a unique approach of pure reinforcement learning. This means that Deepseek basically takes humans out of the equation to train their model, and instead of using human-generated scores, reinforces positive aspects of learning through environmental rewards. Deepseek claims that this allows their models to basically self-evolve and train themselves without having to pay for massive datasets like ChatGPT. Unfortunately, these are all lies. Deepseek doesn't lack quality GPUs, their production costs aren't that cheap, and they aren't even doing anything innovative in the field. Due to their history as a quant fund, Deepseek had the unique opportunity of securing GPU chips before they were restricted by the US. In fact, in 2021, a year before the export restrictions were placed by the US on China, the High Flyer Fund began construction of the Firefly 2 supercomputer powered by a technology that isn't even supposed to be in China to begin with. The center is run by around 10,000 A100 GPUs for a cost of around $140 million. Along with these, they have also reported obtaining more than 2,000 NVIDIA H800 GPUs, which are basically just normal NVIDIA GPUs, nerfed so that they aren't affected by sanctions. However, it is highly likely that Deepseek has bypassed sanctions to obtain other types of GPUs. The US has already put them under investigation for smuggling in chips from Singapore, and Scale AI CEO Alexander Wang claims to have information that Deepseek has access to H100 chips, which they have no way to obtain legally. Chinese research papers discuss having access to H100 chips locally, so it's not some type of conspiracy theory to say that some chips were smuggled in. Notably, the University of Shanghai, which conducted these studies, is one of the major universities which Deepseek recruits from. Obviously, Deepseek can't just admit to breaking international trade compliance enforcement policies, so it created the cover story of a cheap and efficient AI that can take down all major players. The cornerstone of this claim comes down to the model costing $6 million. This figure gave Wall Street traders a stroke, as they previously believed the cost of training a model was in the hundreds of millions of dollars. However, there are a few key flaws within this $6 million figure. Notably, it only accounts for the cost of running the GPUs. It doesn't account for the cost of hiring and research, or the cost of actually buying the infrastructure to begin with. Figures estimate that Deepseek has in fact spent over $1.5 billion on GPUs, and considering they offer contracts to employees that are worth well over $1 million a year, this $6 million figure is definitely not in the picture. Money isn't everything, though. One of the biggest questions about Deepseek was how they came from behind to directly rival big AI players. The answer is pretty simple. Deepseek is highly likely to have engaged in distillation of ChatGPT, and it's not hard to tell. Deepseek will say that it's ChatGPT and responses are eerily similar to its AI counterpart. It's so likely that Deepseek is distilling from OpenAI that the White House has already said they have evidence of distillation. That's right, a new administration, within less than a month of being in office and less than a week after the Deepseek market panic, already has evidence Deepseek is stealing ChatGPT's responses and regurgitating them back out to users. Distillation has yielded a few unique advantages to Deepseek. First, let's define what distillation is. Model distillation, a process where a smaller model is trained to replicate the behavior of a larger, more powerful model, can be used to artificially boost performance by embedding pre-computed knowledge rather than learning dynamically. Evidence of model distillation is apparent in Deepseek's development over time. As shown in this figure, Deepseek achieves top-tier performance despite having a limited number of parameters. Unlike most AI models that increase in complexity and parameter count to improve accuracy, Deepseek has reduced its parameter count while simultaneously enhancing performance. Remarkably, among all model families in this chart, only Deepseek has managed to improve accuracy without increasing the number of parameters. Deepseek's response is that this is because they use an MOE model, or mixture of experts model, that only activates certain parameters for certain prompts. However, compared to other models with similar techniques, such as Google Gemini, these programs still have more parameters than Deepseek. Mixture of expert models are oftentimes slow to progress and have shallow learning curves as their router model is slow, complex, and frequently leads to inaccuracies. Deepseek, however, maintains a steep learning curve that is extremely irregular compared to industry peers, which signals that they could have pumped their model full of distilled datasets and trends to artificially improve accuracy. Another compelling indicator of Deepseek's reliance on distillation is its behavior when pushed into out-of-distribution conditions. As shown in recent findings, flooding the model's context window with special tokens forces it into an unusual base model mode, where it ceases to function as a chatbot and instead behaves like a raw completion model. This suggests that its structured conversational responses are not purely emergent from training, but are instead artificially reinforced, likely through distillation or fine-tuning. If Deepseek had developed its capabilities purely from first principles, its degradation under extreme inputs would be more gradual rather than an abrupt mode shift. This behavior aligns with patterns seen in heavily distilled models, which often fail to generalize outside of their trained response distributions and instead collapse into base behaviors when removed from familiar input structures. The fact that Deepseek's chatbot-like behavior is so easily disrupted by token manipulation further supports the theory that its high performance stems from extensive knowledge compression rather than genuine reasoning improvements. Notably, distillation creates the perfect storm for Deepseek to adopt a peer reinforcement learning approach. First, distillation allows for the rapid development of the model by providing a stable starting point, which helps avoid the erratic guessing game that typically marks the early stages of training. Secondly, distillation removes the need for supervised fine-tuning that comes with models like ChatGPT. Deepseek basically inherits what ChatGPT has learned from its human training without having to go through the same expensive and lengthy process that ChatGPT had to. This again explains how Deepseek overcame the time frame issue of developing a massive AI model without being a trillion-dollar company like Google or Meta. Third, Deepseek was able to reduce training costs by leveraging ChatGPT-generated data, which is free or very inexpensive. These cost reductions extend beyond just training. Compared to other industry players, Deepseek operates with significantly fewer GPUs. For example, xAI's Colossus supercomputer, which powers Grok AI, reportedly utilizes over 100,000 GPUs. Since Deepseek's model processes fewer parameters, scalability is less of a concern. Distillation was for some reason breezed over by the public and Wall Street alike. It was never about ChatGPT also stealing copyrighted content. It was that Deepseek is limited in its capabilities to how well ChatGPT does, and purposely tried to spread a false narrative that China is in the lead. Deepseek's Chinese ties, however, lie farther than just where they are located. The Chinese government treats AI and HPC as core to national progress. Programs like Made in China 2025 pour funds into these areas. Deepseek is supported by and works with a variety of Chinese companies that are known to have a direct relationship with the government. They work with cloud computing firm Inspur, which has deep roots in hosting government projects. They have a strategic partnership with TRS, a data mining company that lists 15 government ministries as some of their core customers. And this list doesn't even include the hundreds of other potential government ties Deepseek partners and customers have. All of Deepseek's lies have had real-world consequences. They have pushed a narrative that China is ahead of the US in the AI race, when in reality Deepseek not only underperforms ChatGPT in most recent tests, but is also literally just a modded version of OpenAI's GPT-4 model. Liang Wenfeng's goal was never to create the supposed passion project as it was framed. It was a deliberate attempt for fame and fortune and to bring back the glory days of China. Many people have been too quick to condone the actions of Deepseek or flat out deny them instead of actually taking into account what these lies mean. The key concerns around Deepseek are as follows. First, that China is beating out the US in the AI race. Second, that the cost of entry to the AI race is small. Third, that Deepseek is somehow magically energy efficient. And finally, that some random new tech was just created that is making AI infinitely more accurate and reliable. All four, I believe, are misplaced and inaccurate. Deepseek was propped up both indirectly and directly by achievements and advancements made by OpenAI, and still can't manage to beat new ChatGPT models in most recent benchmarks. Deepseek misled the general public with convoluted metrics that disregarded major costs in their design and production of R1 in order to hide internal corruption and build hype around their product. Deepseek's whole energy efficiency claim runs on them using outdated chips as highlighted by their own research papers. This is a proven falsehood, as it is clear they are hiding tens of thousands of GPUs behind closed doors. And finally, Deepseek's approach to AI is nothing new or innovative. All of its claims to fame, from mixture of experts routing to peer reinforcement learning, are nothing new and have been implemented better at other companies who are beating them in top benchmarks. Deepseek serves as a striking lesson in mob mentality and the dangers of jumping to conclusions. From the moment it was announced, there was an overwhelming rush to declare it as a game changer, with many in the AI community celebrating its achievements without fully verifying its claims or conducting rigorous analysis. This eagerness to embrace the hype led to an echo chamber effect, where assumptions were repeated so frequently that they were accepted as fact despite a lack of concrete evidence. Deepseek supposedly prides itself on being made solely as a passion product to advance the AI industry and help everyone. If they truly believe this, we believe they need to address the following questions. First, why did you lie about the number and type of GPUs that were used in order to make the model? Is it because these chips are illegally smuggled in? Secondly, how much is the true cost of the model, not just this 5.6 million cookie cutter analysis? Third, is Deepseek taking part in model distillation? Fourth, how come Deepseek has stopped its rapid growth over the past 2 months? Is it because it has hit a performance ceiling now that it is about the same accuracy as ChatGPT and can't distill any more information? Fifth, are you willing to tell investors that your so-called innovation is effectively just copying ChatGPT's homework? Sixth, how deep is Deepseek entrenched in the bureaucracy of the Chinese government? And lastly, considering Deepseek has already fallen behind yet again compared to other AI models, what value is left for investors in this company?